Again, so we're going to deal with loops now. And loops will deal with a conditional, kind of like we did in the past when it comes to our loop. And that conditional, we're checking to see while a certain condition exists, we're going to do something. So they've given us here on the left direction. And I want to go through this from 0 to 10. I'm going to go through this thing 10 times. All right, they've given us a number of loops constant, how many times we're going to go through it. So let's start out with our control variable. Our control variable, we'll put on line 18. I'll call it number counter. They've already defined the name here. Okay. I like copying, pasting to make sure that I don't have any issues. Number counter, I'll initialize it to 0. So I start out with 0. So I've gone through, at the beginning of this whole process, I've gone through the loop 0 times. And each time I go through it, I will increase number counter by 1. Okay. Let's come down here to the bottom, and I'll deal with that now. Paste it in there. Number counter equals number counter plus 1. So I increase it by 1 each time I go through this loop. Now I need to tab this in so it's in line, and we'll start our loop, and our loop will be a while loop. And essentially it's while number counter is less than or equal to num loops, how many times we're going through this loop. While that's true, we're going to keep going through whatever's in this indented section. So it's checking number counter. Every time we go through it, number counter gets increased by 1. So at the end of each cycle, it bumps it up and says, all right, we're through the first time, second time, third time, all the way up to maximum number of loops is 10. So let's come in here, we'll do multiply by 10. And our multiply by 10, I'm going to say by 10 equals, oops, I don't want num loops, I want number counter. That's how many times I've been through. Number counter times 10. Okay. And I'll go ahead and copy that line of code and come down and I'll do this by 2, same logic. Instead of by 10, it'll be by 2. I'll change to the number 2. Now let's see what happens when I run this. It says our first time through, 0. 0 multiplied by 2 is 0. 0 multiplied by 10 is 0. And that's my first time through. Now it's boom, 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 boom each time. Let's see if, in fact, it does what we want it to. We'll test it. Project's being tested. I got 1 of 1 passed. I'm good. Now, this can be glitchy at times. I've seen where this code, you go to run it, it says you ran over 5,000 lines of code, when in fact you didn't. So don't get startled if you see this give you a message that says you've got over 5,000 lines of code. Go ahead, test it, see if it does validate, check to see what you're doing. Now, don't jump to the conclusion and say, well, it's over 5,000, it's still good, test it, I'm golden. May not be the case. if your incrementer here doesn't work properly, and if I go ahead and comment this out, if I run my code now, it chokes and it says your program executed the maximum 5,000 lines of output. Well, I don't want that to be the case, so I have to have that incrementer. Now, this is what we call an infinite loop, and by that it means that the condition to allow us to escape from this cycle that we're in, the loop, never got changed. Nothing changed, and we just stayed in it. This system throttles us back at 5,000. We got a cap of 5,000 iterations, and on number 5,000 it says, yeah, we're done. We're not going to let it go on forever. But in a traditional system, it will go until you manually stop it if it's in an infinite loop. Okay, so go ahead and grade it and submit it, and I'll see you in the next one.